So I figured I mentioned in one of my videos I was going to show how I cosmetically clean up my my saws. This isn't a functional restoration. My goal here is to make them look nice and do no damage really, so that if I ever wanted to functionally restore one, I could. Like I said, I'm looking to acquire the tools and hopefully figure out how to sharpen them. Yeah, they're usually not in terrible shape. You know, there's usually a bit of pitting. You can see it on this larger saw, which is a small version of one of my crosscut saws, especially towards the tip. It's got a fair amount of pitting out there. Also got a bent front tooth as well. I can straighten that, and the rest of the teeth are all intact on that saw, so this shouldn't be that bad of a restoration. The first step will be to remove the handle. I already have the handle removed on this one. And this handle I don't think actually was original in this saw. That top hole doesn't go all the way through the wood. So I'm going to take another saw I have that's just junk. Use one of the buttons from it. And attempt to put at least 3 buttons in it for holding the handle on. 2 is really not enough in my mind. So I highly doubt this is a distance saw. I don't see a mark. We'll see when I clean it up. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. This other smaller saw was gonna. Yesterday's video I mentioned that I had one saw missing. This was it. So I'll clean this one up, and this will be pretty quick. This is my work area. I do it over a garbage can so I can toss out the rags directly below it. So let me get going and I'll show you how I work. Okay, so I took the handle off, and the blade is fairly straight. I start off with a bench grinder with a wire wheel, and I use it very, very lightly. I'm just trying to knock off some of the easy surface stuff. Stay away from the teeth. If you can't control yourself with the wire wheel and the teeth, don't do it. Just do it all by hand. It's not worth it. So I'll fire it up and show you. So before it's all like that. Okay. Just very light. You can't even really see it, but I knocked quite a bit off. It just gets me down to the base metal really. So I will use a sander next. Okay, I already worked on one side. You can see here it's down from looking like that after the grinder to mostly shiny metal, dirty looking metal, and this is how I get to it. Wait for the wind to die down. I don't want to spray the lens. I take some lubricant of some type. I'm using liquid wrench here, and just spray the saw body down. Use a block. I put a glove on. And I stay away from the teeth while I'm doing this. My teeth never really get shiny. And I don't go up and down, I go with the grain of the saw.
Daddy, can you help me get some food? I'm starving.
Okay, I'll help you in a minute, honey. I'll help you in a moment. That was my daughter interrupting, but I'll be up just in a second. So, even strokes like that. Let's flip it over and do the side that needs more work right now. Same thing, spray it down. Okay. Go back and forth. Let me show you how I get close to the teeth. I take a sandpaper and I put my fingertips above it so I can actually feel the teeth, and I run like this. And it lets me get pretty close without actually sanding the teeth down. So what you don't want to do is actually sand off the high spots on the teeth. That'll make it impossible to ever bring it back to function if you flatten the teeth down on both sides. So. I'm working with 120 grit. I'll go to 220 grit next, and then I'll finish up with a stone. I'll show you that next step of the stone. If you hit a dry spot, this paper is really cheap, crummy paper. I think I got it from Harbor Freight. It doesn't last very long. But if you hit a spot where you didn't lubricate, the paper will load up real quick. While I'm doing it with my fingers, I can actually feel high spots in the blade. Like there's a bump right here I can feel. So if I was doing a restoration on the stove, I would, of the saw completely, I would have to take that bump out. This is a cosmetic wall hanger. I'm not going to worry about it. In order to get the high spot out, you put it on an anvil. I have a big piece of steel. Weighs about 75 pounds, and I set it across here, and then I can pound out around the that high spot and bring it down sometimes. I'm not a master at it, so my success rate's probably 50-50. These saws I've got off Craigslist. I got these 5 saws for $35 from somebody a couple of years ago, and just to use on this for wall hangers. The bigger saws I tend to spend about $10 a piece for. I don't think I've ever spent more than $10 on a 2-man saw. No, 2-man saw. The 6-foot one's $20 is what I've spent on those. So we can continue on this, and I'll show you the next step when I get to the stoning. Okay, I've taken the saw with the 220 and the 120 and the 220 sandpaper, the block. Cleaned it down with the rag afterwards, and now I use this Harbor Freight composite cheap stone. Nothing special about it. Just wet the blade down. I already wet the side down. And run the saw this way. trying to stay away from the teeth. You don't want to hit the teeth with this at all. I like this long sharpening stone. I also have pucks, but I like this long one because it runs the, you'll find the high spots, they'll get shiny. So when you do the coarse side first, then go to the smooth side. And after you're done that, you will, after I got the whole thing done with this stone on both sides, I will go over and wax the blade. I'll show you how to do that next step. So I've switched over to the fine side. I figured I'd do one more of the stoning here before I do the waxing portion for you. Pressure-wise, about the amount of pressure, I put a fair amount of weight, and I run the whole length. I spray the stone down with solution most of the time too, if because these stones absorb a lot. And just move front and back on the blade. Stay away from the teeth. You don't want to stone the teeth at all, but you can get close to them. You really want to have some control when you're doing it. A lot of times when I'm doing the teeth, it's easier if I flip them away, and I'll use the tip. I'll take shorter strokes. Now sometimes you will get an etching. This one didn't have one. Either it wore off or it didn't have one. The handle said Distin, but you know, they get mixed. It would have been right here. I would have started to see it. Sometimes it's real light and I can bring it back with, I use a gun blue and that'll bring it back a lot. A cold blue method. But seeing this doesn't have one, this is what I got. So I'll get close to the teeth. This one is stamped 9, so that means there's 9 points per inch. And if I do the real slow, these little short strokes, I'll always go afterwards and do full length strokes. And then take a look at how I'm doing. And this is about where I try to get to it. Yeah, I'm not trying to make it look new. It's supposed to look old. So, and I turn it back and forth, and you can see it. You know, some black over here, some deeper areas of the pitting. We got shiny spots through here. On the other side, I can see where I have high spots right here and right here. It means there's a bit of I can see it if I take the blade this way, there's a bit of a ripple right here. You can pound that out by pounding around it with a hammer on a piece of steel. I'm not going to go through the effort on this particular saw because it's going to go on the wall and that's it. On the bigger saws, if they have them, I would. Just because. But yeah, so let me finish this up and then I will show you how I wax the blade. So when I get all cleaned up, I'll clean it up with a rag. I flip these two boards. They have a dirty side and a slightly less dirty side. And I use that slightly less dirty side for the waxing. So like I said, this is about where I get it to for my wall hangers. It still shows a lot of age, a lot of character. But yeah, it's not entirely black. And sometimes you can see the etching. Not this time. There's no etching. I use a Minwax finishing wax. There's all kinds of products. There's some specifically for this type of stuff. All I do is I take a block of it and I rub it across the blade and work it in. And this is just to keep it from rusting. It'll provide a layer of protection. Because these will start rusting fairly quickly if there's any humidity in the air. This is like a cosmetic restoration for things that aren't collector's items. These aren't, I got these, like I said, these 5 hand saws like this one I got were $35. If this was a 150-year-old saw or even a 100-year-old saw that had some type of collector's value, I probably wouldn't do it the way I'm doing it. Maybe I'd try to figure out electrolysis, I think it's called. I've seen some videos on people doing that. You know, it's less invasive, you're losing less material. This is for, you know, these are probably from the 30s or 40s for the most part, most of the saws I get, when I'm able to date them. I wouldn't do this on something that was worth something. But for, you know, Craigslist finds, $10 saws, $20 saws, this isn't a half bad little way to turn something that was a black rusty piece of crap into something that doesn't look half bad. And you could actually take it from this point and sharpen this, or actually once you straighten the blade, this blade needs to be straightened. A lot of them don't. My bigger saws are still very straight, but this one definitely does. So I got the wax on it, and just using a cloth, now I rub it in. And I really should have gloves on both hands, because the teeth aren't terribly sharp, but they're still sharp. I do this against the grain that I've been sanding in the entire time. Just seems to make sense that it would fill in some of the grain, the marks that I left. And if I'm doing a big saw, I will do this in pieces because the stuff starts to kind of harden a bit as you're working. And if you're doing like a 6-foot saw, it becomes harder and harder to buff this stuff out as you're going. So just like that. And you can feel it over with your fingers. You'll feel any spot where you haven't buffed it enough. Right here. The wax, you can feel it with your fingers. So let me do the other side and then I'll show you what I do with the handles. Okay, for the handles, especially ones like this that are in really decent shape actually. This one has someone's initials in it. Yeah, pretty sure it's an L. I don't know what the heck that's supposed to be actually. But yeah, what I end up, what I found that works really nice is I use this Howard feed-in wax and some very fine steel wool, and I will work the wax in and then just polish it up with the ultra-fine steel wool. Put this stuff here. You want to shake it. Get it all mixed in, and then just work it in. Yeah, that's nice. So I work it into the wood. Again, I should have gloves on both hands. And just take the steel wool and work it in a little bit more. I'm not trying to make it look new, I'm trying to clean it. Go with the grain, not against, but sometimes you just kind of have to go against the grain. A lot of them always seem to have paint. Sometimes I'll scrape them off with an X-Acto knife, being real careful, it takes a long time. I'm not doing it here. this, I've used this on my rifles. This stuff's awesome. It's a beeswax, like lemon oil mix, I think. This is a concoction. Okay, so go get a paper towel and I'll wipe that all off. Now some people like, now if I'm doing some things I'll leave it on there for a while and just let it soak all the way in. But usually for like a rifle I don't use steel wool on I just let it soak and that's it. With this I figure it gets pretty good helping to get into the grain of the wood. So let me get the towel. Cut my hand off. It gives it a really nice shine when it's done. Not sure how good that shows up on the camera. I mean, let's see here. Again, if this was a valuable collector's item, you know, I probably wouldn't be doing it this way. Can't imagine this is the proper restoration method. This is just what I do. Let's see. You can see it's nice and shiny. Yeah, it really looks pretty. So let me put it back together and I'll show you the finished results. Okay, here I walk up close. I assembled the saw. Yeah, doesn't look new, not supposed to, but I think it looked pretty good on the wall. It has character. Yeah, it shows its age. It's probably somewhere from the early part of the 20th century, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s, somewhere around there. Most of the saws I find are, and I'm not an expert on these saws. Bringing a saw from what it looked like when I started to this phase takes about an hour. I was interrupted a bunch of times, so I've been out here a couple hours, but it takes about an hour to get to about here. The bigger blades probably takes me 3 to 4 hours total to go from rusted mess to a usable condition. This blade is as sharp as it was when I started. I'm not sharpening the blade, but it actually will probably still cut. Most of them do. Yeah, still cuts. Yeah, could it be sharpened and made sharper? Absolutely. But for a wall hanger, which is what it's going to do for the rest of its life, it works fine. So, and as I said all along, if you have a collectible saw of any type, if you have an old 150-year-old saw, don't listen to me. You know, these are $10 Craigslist saws and $20 saws. I don't claim to be a restoration expert, but I think they're not half bad when they're done. So, I guess that's it for now. I said I wanted to do this for a couple weeks and got around to it today. But until next time, thanks for watching.